Good evening, everyone. This is Monica from Booklyn. I'm your host tonight for my favorite book. I'm slightly paranoid about our tech right now because last night we had such a goofy thing happen. So sorry while I just convinced myself delicately. Yep, we're on. Okay, cool. You're there. Welcome. All right, let me get my ducks in a row. Okay, you're watching the 11th episode of my favorite book. This is an original program of Booklyn Inc. We're about to hear from Taehee Whang and Jeong from Hyperlink Press, and they are going to present their favorite book that they've ever made, and it's a good one, I promise. Before we get started, I want to acknowledge the land from which we're broadcasting as part of the traditional territory of Lenni Lenape peoples. Please join us in acknowledging the Lenape community, their elders both past and present, as well as future generations. So Booklyn Inc., we're a nonprofit organization. We're located in Brooklyn. We're celebrating 22 years of promoting artist books as art, primary research materials, and tools for social justice. We distribute work by artists and organizations within the academic market. We host workshops and exhibitions and publish books and archival box sets. And we are very excited to be doing our first serialized online program, My Favorite Book. This is a program where we ask 18 different artists, or publishers actually, as is such tonight, to quickly tell us about their favorite book that they've ever made or published. Every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday throughout the month of June, we'll have a new episode for you from 7 until 7:30. You can check out our website for a full schedule. I'm going to give you everything that you need to do that here. And then for more information about Booklyn or to find out what an archival box set is, you can check out our website. There's more information about us there. I lastly just want to thank the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs for supporting My Favorite Book. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so tonight we're delighted, very delighted to introduce Taehee Whang and Jeong of Hyperlink Press. They are going to present LB City Volume 2. I'm going to read a brief bio of the group, and then I'll hand it over to them. They'll talk for about 15 minutes, and then we'll do a quick Q&A. So anybody who's watching directly from YouTube live, you can put any questions or comments in the chat. I will channel it to both of them afterwards. All right. Hyperlink Press is a zine and curatorial collective that seeks to distribute work by artists that navigate in between spaces of the internet, queer communities, and diaspora experiences. Their mission is to uplift the marginalized and underrepresented experiences, identities, and histories in the art gallery and technology field. Hyperlink Press reminisces the early 2000s that showed us exciting alternatives to traditional forms of community building for a more equitable world. Hyperlink Press was founded in December of 2018 by Taehee Whang, along with Jeong and Minsoo Thigpen, who are all graduates of the Rhode Island School of Design. They were awarded Printed Matter's Shannon Michael Caine Award in 2020, Abrons Arts Center AIRSpace Residency 2021, and MoreArt Engaged Fellowship in 2021. Oh my goodness, they're busy. So let us bring on Taehee and Jeong.
Hi, Monica. Hi, everybody. I'm Taehee Whang from Hyperlink Press.
And I'm Jeong from also Hyperlink Press.
Yeah, in Hyperlink Press, Monica gave wonderful bio introduction, and we are basically zine and curatorial collective based both in United States and Korea. We have total 5 members who have been working on our projects. And one of our key projects, which is Remembering LB City, we just, earlier this year, we came out with our 2nd volume. And we would love to share about this zine anthology book and why this is our favorite so far. And let me share some of the screen. So, hello. Yeah, so maybe we, to give you a context, we would like to tell you about the history of what LB City is. And LB City, I found out about it when I was kind of like searching through online about queer Korean history, which is not much resource out there. But one of the PDF that I ran into, there was like a 2-sentence about this online community that meant to be cyber lesbian utopia, and that really pulled me in terms of like uncovering the stories and history behind it, like who founded it, what happened to the community, why it really stood out. And as we worked on it, we kind of like ran into the dead end in terms of like a lot of the erasure of like a lesbian community, which is pretty prominent in history as well, in general. So we decided to publish the second volume as an open call, asking people to make work inspired by LB City and talking about the history. And Jeong, maybe do you want to like talk a little bit more about LB City, like what exactly the community was about, and like maybe like a process of an open call?
So we were, as Tae said, we were very much inspired by LB City and their agenda, where it seemed like very open-ended and inclusive. Anyone who pretty much agreed to their citizenship rules could join. And yeah, so we the first volume is more like Taehee's research and sort of like a proposal and like a lot of
or like a history.
Yeah, the
honestly,
history that
from the internet archive that we could like gather and stitch around, and most of them are written in Korean, so we just wanted to translate in English and like make it available for English speaking audience, basically. But yeah.
So we I guess like then we started an open call so that people could submit, and like it so that it can turn into more of an anthology of different contributors and artists, or like any creatives, and sort of like in hopes of kind of reimagining, or like and sort of trying to in a way like continue to build, and then kind of like build our own like LB City in a way. And yeah, so that's how we decided to do the open call. A lot of people from both in the United States and also Peninsular Korea, people submitted, and yeah, we just I guess like combined them together into like this book.
Yeah, we had total 7 people who submitted work inspired by history of LB City, and I say like this project is like meaningful to us because like we are really trying to like continue the legacy of like lesbian space, but also kind of questioning that how do we like actually create like intersectional like community, because like the founding idea and the reason why the subtitle is practice practice practice, the founder of LB City, we uncovered the interview, Ihesor said, I started this project in hopes of this online community become actual practice for future lesbian city where everybody can live in harmony and people can be themselves. So from that interview sentence, we like the idea that, okay, we can maybe all practice together and like imagine a work that can reflect that, create a work that reflect that. And I guess like it's pretty, I think it's not enough time to like talk about all the participants' work, but I want to pick maybe my favorite page. So artist submission, she submitted her paper doll illustration that explores what spectrum of butch and femme, and it has like I really like about it, kind of it is very nostalgic. in bringing up like the childhood paper doll that we played as, and on top of that, but there is like a lot of like queer twist to it. So like a lot of people, when we actually happened to show this in Korea, were really drawn to it because even though when they're not, they don't identify as queer, they would be like, oh wow, this is like something that I played with as a child, and then they kind of realize, oh wait, this is a little bit different from like what I usually see. Like, what is it? And I think that's the key of like opening up to like the queer discourse around the book. And we had an exhibition back in the day, early this year, when we launched our book. And yeah, and my favorite is maybe I'm gonna stop sharing. Maybe we can just open the page and talk about it. And yeah, so paper doll. And I think it was also being shown in the promo image. And let me read the artist statement. Sami wrote, "My memories of paper dolls as a child are of a book of cartoon girls from around the world and their ethnic folk clothing, sticker mats and sheets with all sort of colorful, trendy fashions that I got when we visited Korea, and flash dress-up games of the early 2000 internet. The internet of the 90s and 2000s was definitely a place of exploration and play for me. That era really feels defined by the having of an avatar. To imagine a world where gender is not something that is enacted upon us, but something that we control and define for ourselves, is the reason that I will forever be fond of paper dolls. In creating my own, I thought of all the beautiful queer people I love and the way they mix it up and make the little things of their own. Butch and femme is not just appearance, but a means to find others like you."
I guess I can share my favorite page. This is just in this is our page. I mean, like a documentation photo from our exhibition that happened in Korea. And I just have like lots of memories like setting this up, and it's just like we also incorporated a lot of like crafts materials. And this page is sort of like the poster that shows here. This we also have as like in form of like love letter. We have it on our website as also our, you know, like mission statement slash
Manifesto.
yeah, manifesto.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's and it yeah, it just like brings back a lot of memories that we sort of like that I have, and also like we both have in Korea, just setting this whole thing off, and going through a lot of stuff during the pandemic. And yeah, so that's my favorite page personally, although there are a lot of other amazing writings and drawings and stuff. So yeah, I think you can.
Yeah, and then I guess the motivation for creating this book really was like, we kind of wanted to refuse that the volume 1 was a dead end, basically. And then we basically wanted to create a fanzine or like contribution, like a respect to this piece of history that's usually not very accessible. And I feel like when people are talking about perfect society and utopia, it is in the context of like white academia. There's like a perfect society that's like impossible to achieve. But in fact, like all this like community that is for us it was made possible by POC and like marginalized people who really try to support each other. And I think we find LB City as like one of the example of that type of community. And it's interesting, Jeong also brought up the love letter earlier, because we talked about because like the title of the zine, the writing is, "Dear future artists, dear future young artists who want to make queer diaspora art," and we want to talk about this like legacy of love and like through community, which we found in LB City, and previously LB City, they had another predecessor they were inspired by. So yeah.
I guess it's also about us just like trying forever and like practicing. Just like the title that we decided on for the second volume, this thing, practice, 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 and how and also yeah, a lot of different things that we also, I don't know, like it's just also the concept of like the LB City, how how the way it sort of differed from other online communities were, like how open they were, and how like because a lot of like cyber queer communities could be so easily it could gatekeep other identities so easily, especially trans identities. And I think LB City, the reason we specifically like really were drawn to LB City is like really because like they were trying to build this community of like based on support and love and care. So yeah, that's LB City Volume 2.
Hi guys.
Hello.
Hi, Ron.
That was my cue, right?
Yeah.
That's so great. Thank you for sharing all of that. I'm super excited to get my hands on LB City Volume 1. Would you mind if I just kind of geeked out as a fan and showed the Volume 1? Did I say Volume 2?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay, so in my hands right now is Booklyn's last copy of Remembering LB City, Cyber Lesbian Utopia Volume 1. And so I just bumped it to our homepage because we've had it for a little while, but like it's on our homepage right now. So I'm gonna leave it up for the next few hours. If anybody wants it, it's yours. And if not, someone in our zine club is gonna definitely want this, and we'll work on getting more copies in the future. We've talked about that, but I just wanted to say, okay, super fan of your work. What I have noticed and appreciated and loved about the publications that come from Hyperlink Press is that every single one is like it's like an exhibition in and of itself. And every single page, if I may, feels like a corridor in an exhibition. Oh God. Oh God, skill level. You know, I feel like I am traveling through space in your publications. Every page is so considered, and not always in ways that are expected or that have like a template. Like it's really just like you're reinventing every single page that you go. And now, Taehee, I also have a copy of Evil Child.
Oh,
is this okay to?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Also a favorite. I believe Hyperlink Press is publishing this.
Zine, have to say.
Sorry, what?
It's a beautiful zine. Yeah.
It's gorgeous, and like risograph skills coming just from every direction in here. And if I remember, this was like a favorite publication at the New York Art Book Fair a few years ago. And somehow anyway, I pushed that to our homepage too, if anybody wants to see that. So, okay, anybody watching, please put any comments or questions in the chat. I'm just gonna go ahead and ask my questions that I have. You guys have 3 pretty significant awards / accolades in very recent years. Let me just go and remind ourselves what that was. Okay, so you got Printed Matter's Shannon Michael Caine Award in 2020. Not the best timing, if I remember correctly. Because
oh yeah,
getting to LA was kind of a rough moment, or didn't happen. Is that what?
It got transferred over to the virtual Printed Matter fair.
Beautiful.
Basically. Yeah, which I'm like amazing. Like basically really fits to our brand, to be honest.
Okay, so you have that, the Printed Matter's Shannon Michael Caine Award in 2020, Abrons Arts Center AIRSpace Residency 20 and 2021, and MoreArt Engaged Fellowship 2021. What does this mean for Hyperlink? Is this a normal kind of like, do you update these accolades every few years, or is this like you're kind of coming into some recognition all of a sudden? And I'm curious what that has meant to you as a group. And through those opportunities or awards, like what people can see, like what people can expect from that, if those are projects that are kind of like in the process.
That's a really great question, Monica. Yeah, I mean, even before all this like recognition, which we really feel like grateful about, but all this like project is like started out as zine, and we wanted to make it because we wanted to and wanted to just share it. And I think like especially when I first made a LBCD Volume 1, like it was out of excitement and like this happened and I want to share it with my friend. Like, and then Minsoo, Jeong were like the first people that I was thinking about. And also I started to think about my other queer Asian friends, but not necessarily have like language literacy. So like, so it's something always like I did this in out of like just to share this history that's like not really available in the state and even in Korea too. So yeah, so like getting all this like little support is exciting, but also like adds like a lot of responsibility, because at the end, like even though we are queer Korean based in the United States, but we have to be more cautious about how we are presenting this history that's based in Peninsula Korea. And then we realized that we really need to be in more dialogue with queer Koreans based in South Korea, basically. So yeah, which is slowly unfolding more. And I feel like it's easier to like approach to people when you have like institutional name, which is like what I'm realizing more. I'm like, that's silly, but okay, but yes. So very grateful.
I know it's silly because you're like, oh, I could have done that anyway. Or yeah, and what have you noticed any, has it shifted? Yeah, has it shifted? You kind of said this, like, you know, you can sort of approach different organizations and feel like you've been validated in some way. Have you noticed anything internally? Like, is there more energy now? Has it, I don't know, does anybody not like getting the recognition?
Like I think at the beginning, as we sort of like really got together to work on things collectively, is I think there's like a lot of work also like built, like because it happened all to me, it happened very gradually. So like and we also applied to a lot of different things, and we just like started like getting more concrete, and like we flashed out more stuff into like words, more like I guess like in more like a cogent manner or something.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I think we you know, it's sort of like started, we like kept on building more and more, and like we came to this point, and like and yeah, we do have like, I think compared to a few years ago and now we do have more resources, which we also am constantly in search for like more support, like financially.
Because like most of the project, like even though like we might be getting a little bit of recognition, but it's like really just came out of our own pocket because we wanted to make it, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it has been helping, like reaching out to organization or creators in South Korea, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And because like it is the type of institutional validation, like goes both way. Like, sure, like I mean, it's like I think it's like it still supports artists, and like, you know, in that way, yes, like institution in that way can be very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. And then I think it will like definitely help us a lot with our next project that's pretty much upcoming too. Yeah.
Well, yeah, material resources are important. So.
They matter. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. And I'll just offer too, like, I'm like, as you're answering me, I'm also thinking, why am I asking so much about this? And I just want to say, well, I mean, in the context of collective work that you're doing, there is something, and not to say you didn't have recognition before, you certainly did. But it did seem like from the outside perspective, there was kind of like a series of things. And of course, we don't know the background of like, no, you actually applied for like 20 things and you got, there's like so many parts of the story, but for collective work like that you're doing, that's really ambitious and it's really juicy and vulnerable and really important. I guess I just had that question, like, how does that work when you're working collectively? And, yeah, I'd like to give an additional shout to your love letter. Before we hopped on, I was saying how much I liked it, and I'm glad you mentioned it. I love that you sort of call it a love letter, but also it's your mission statement and it's a manifesto. And like, the love letter is so touching just to read it. But yeah, sure, it functions like a mission statement and a manifesto, but like, how aggressive is that language, man? Like, like manifesto and a mission statement. And even as a, someone who works with a nonprofit art structure, it's like mission statement has always been a little off-putting to me.
Yeah.
But I'm like thinking maybe at the next board meeting, if a board member is listening right now, I might propose to draft a love letter.
Oh my God.
Yeah, why not, to be honest.
And credit Hyperlink Press, because there's a lineage in that kind of, we see how that functions and how that is a more welcoming and offering statement as opposed to, putting a flag in the ground and saying, this is our manifesto.
Yeah.
No disrespect to manifestos. There are many great ones, but we do have one question I wanted to add. I'll channel to you from Marshall. He says, how does language fit in or disrupt the LB City project?
Yeah, so that's a great question too, Marshall. Oh my God. Yeah, so the most daunting part about working on the volume 2 was actually translation. And not just like straight up like the whole like translating what the meaning is, but then you have to like also rethink about the context. Because like I feel like especially when you're thinking about queer community language, just because we are saying queer doesn't mean that we speak the same like code basically. So you really need to do research and ask questions to our participant about like, oh, what does it actually mean? Like, can you elaborate a little bit? So it really it's an ongoing communication really, and I feel like a lot of the work that we did actually that was the part that our labor as a collective really came through, I would say. Because like at the moment we have total 5 members and we come from like different level of like fluency of Korean. So yeah. So so I feel like trying to like get the message down to initially Korean audience, because that's where we first like launched our book and exhibition. And then also like trying to translate that back to English, because like some artists participant they are non-English speaker basically, and like so I was thinking about accessibility in that regard, and on top of it we had to like do interview piece like video, and we actually needed to think subtitle for both language, because we realized one of our participants, they have disability, they have hearing disability, so we need to consider all that. So it was all like our labor to provide the access. Yeah. Yeah. So
it was a good question. I have to admit, I was like, I hope they know where he's going with that, but you did, because I didn't follow it. Well, hey, this is a great time. I'm just going to flash Hyperlink Press's contact information. You can find them at Hyperlink Press on Instagram and hyperlinkpress.com. I can personally vouch for how awesome their website is. So just go there. There's a store. You can purchase their publications there, read about them. You can read their love letter / mission statement. Spend some time there. It will be worth your while. And then you know, we have a few things in our store, but it's mostly for this purpose, just to like, you know, fill in some blanks if you want to see it. Booklyn.org, you can find some stuff about Hyperlink Press, and hopefully in the future we'll be carrying a lot more of your materials. So there's that. I'm just going to give a little preview of what we're doing next week. This is, did I say the 11th? I think it's the 11th episode of My Favorite Books. So the 12th episode is going to be on Monday. We're taking a break on Friday. Mark Fisher of Half Letter Press is going to be here. He'll be talking to us from Chicago about his favorite book that they've done called Prisoner's Inventions. You know, if you're watching and you like what you see, subscribe to the channel. Anything else you guys want to close with?
We are also working on volume 3 of LB City for next year. So, and just follow us for more of our event that's upcoming. So yeah, thank you, Monica, for inviting us, really.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It was so good to see you.
Yes.
Good night.
Thanks for having us,
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.